Alright, so here's a long overdue update clip on my outside garden. I apologize in advance if you hear any screaming in the background. There's kids playing around the neighborhood. So looking over on this side, you'll see my tomato plants, which for some reason have not been doing very well. You'll see they've got a lot of discoloration on the leaves, and they just don't grow very quickly, and stuff like that. I've been spraying them lately with a spray that I concocted out of sesame oil and dish soap. Apparently sesame oil is a pretty good fungicide and insecticide. So we'll see how well that works, as long as I keep spraying it. Hopefully those tomato plants will do fine. They keep throwing off flowers. If that'll focus. Keep throwing off flowers, but they never actually set fruit. So, yeah. And then looking up here, there's a lettuce that's growing from a seed that came off of one of the plants that I had been growing previously. This is some leftover ginger that I just put into this little pot, just in case I want to replant it somewhere or something. I've got a bunch of other ones that I've replanted. Plus, I've still got the root sections upstairs that I can always replant. And then I've got the basil here, which I literally just let go to flower in its seed, and it actually has dropped seeds randomly. But yeah, one of the major issues that I've been having recently, if you look into this plant pot, you'll see it looks like it's been dug up right here and over here. There's a lettuce right here that got disturbed from it. You can see, yeah, there's another lettuce right there. Pretty sure it's squirrels digging around, as they do, messing everything up. I've been trying to sprinkle cayenne pepper on the ground to try to deter them, but the moment I water it into the dirt, it yeah, you can see all the dirt. Yeah, no longer deters them. In this one, I've got my pepper, which at this point is a couple years old, so it's not doing too well. Oddly enough, still setting off little fruits over here, despite the fact that for some reason these leaves are really tiny and very compact, and you'd think that it would grow differently than that. I do have a couple other pepper plants that I had started inside out here. I had a couple other ones earlier on in the season during the summer, and they just didn't do very well because of the heat and because of whiteflies. But yeah, in this pot here, I've got some sage still growing. It's still doing really well. And I've got rosemary to go along with it. This rosemary I just bought, so that's why it looks like perfect. Looks like really, really perfect. And I doubt that it'll look like that for very much longer. But yeah. And then coming over to my lime tree, had a whole bunch of new growth come out with a whole bunch of flowers. So you can see a whole bunch of flowers and new growth. There's some more. But I do have a lime here growing and a lime down here growing. And I'm really excited for that. In this one, I've got some lettuce that I took from upstairs in the closet to see how well it would do outside. Now that it's cooler, lettuce will grow a lot easier. I have a ginger plant that's for one of my coworkers. In a pot here, just making sure that it stays alive until it gets to him. Also have a strawberry plant in here. This is one of the strawberries that I had been growing from some bare rooted plants that I got a couple months back. And they're still doing really well. Haven't set any fruit. Oddly enough, I've never seen this on any other strawberry, and I'm trying to figure it out, but it grows like this, like little secondary leaf halfway down the leaf stem. That's a dead leaf. And I've never seen that on other strawberries, and I thought it was like a flower originally, but I don't think it is. Maybe it's just whatever variety of strawberry that is, or some weird mutation. This is where I had the ginger growing, and I was planting out some cucumbers. This is the trellis, or cage, or whatever you want to call it. However, something decided to dig around in here, disturb the dirt, and I doubt any of the cucumbers are going to germinate in this now. Anyway, so I started some seeds inside, and hopefully they do well. Here's some more strawberries that I had recently bought. They were like $4 each, but I kind of feel like I got my money's worth because I found the two that had the most runners coming off of it. Strawberries will send off these little stems. They grow out like this, and then at the end of it will grow new leaves, just like this. This one's coming from this plant. It's just loops up and around. This goes back down into there. I'm not going to pull this out because it's starting to grow roots. But basically, they'll grow roots, and boom, you got a new plant. So I basically got the equivalent of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6, but this one looks like it's going to die. 6 plants for the price of 2. So, got my money's worth. This is another one of those strawberries that I had previously. It doesn't seem to be doing very well. This is where I planted carrots and something dug up. Plus, I don't think the soil blend is correct. I tried loosening it up with some sand, and it's very compact, and I don't like it. I don't think the carrots would like it either. Yeah. So, well, I guess this is what I get for filming on a Saturday. A lot of cars going by, a lot of people making noise. Blackberries are just kind of hanging around during winter. A lot of cars going by. I've got one of my lemon trees that I grew from seed that I had saved from a fruit that I got in a recipe that I got. Here is the, I guess, leftover sweet potato. This is after I harvested my sweet potatoes, which I only got probably just about 7 or 8 little tiny ones, probably about the size of like a golf ball, sadly enough. And then I got that one big one, which was nice. So I just put the rest of the vines and whatnot. Nothing's better than the sound of a basketball being beaten down. Anyway, yeah. So in here, there's actually, I've been feeling around, there's actually a couple little root sections starting to grow. So, yeah. And then in here, I've got another tomato. Seems to be doing a little bit better than the one on the other side. But still also just not as big and as green as the tomatoes I've grown in the past. Yeah. So hopefully the sprays will help them out and get them to where they need to be. Because it just seems to be growing a whole bunch of little offshoots that that then die back, and because they die back, it grows another offshoot that dies back, and it seems to be this endless cycle of the endless cycle of the plant just not being strong enough to do what it needs to do to grow the fruit that I want to eat. Yeah, and back here is another little lemon tree that I grew from seed. Here's some green onion that's been sadly dug through. Luckily, nothing's disturbed the actual plant, but I cut back recently green onion, and yeah, seems to be doing alright. I'm gonna pause for a minute. And here I've got my broccoli with its giant leaves kind of stuck back so you can see it a little bit better. There's a couple other plants in here that are a little bit smaller, just because I transplanted them a little bit later. You can see where they're back there. But yeah, this is the broccoli. Doing a lot better in the colder weather. It's actually starting, if you see right here, to grow a little flower head. So once that gets bigger, chop it off and eat it, and then it'll grow new heads out of the sides here, which will be really exciting. It actually looks like there might be one grown there already. So, but yeah, it smells kind of gross, kind of like cabbage, like the actual leaves themselves, which you can eat. I guess the young ones especially are tasty, and they're probably really good for you, just like all other plants from the same family, such as like cabbage and kale and Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. Yeah, collard greens are also, I guess, the same family too. But yeah, and then into my turmeric bed, which is doing all right. Hasn't really put on a lot of growth, and put a couple of plants from inside in the aquaponics out here, as well as transplanted some of the plants that I had growing in the other smaller pots that I had harvested the root sections from. I put the actual greenery into the soil to keep growing. But yeah, seems to be doing all right. And then my pineapple, which is doing great. All right, now hopefully most of the cars have gone. The pineapple seems to be doing great. Hasn't really put on a lot of big growth, but it's definitely better than it used to be. I'm pretty sure like only these leaves down here were from the actual main stem that I had originally got from the top of the pineapple that I had chopped off. Yeah, and then in here is what is left of the ginger that I had harvested. By that I mean I put a couple in the pot that I had shown you earlier, the small one, just to see if I wanted to plant them anywhere else or try something different. And then I gave some, or potted up some for my coworker, and then I left the rest of these three. There's 3 plants in here to go for next season's harvest, which should be able to take over this pot pretty well, given the right nutrition and resources. But yeah, that's winter in the garden so far. Everything seems to be kind of slowing down, but except the broccoli. Yeah, it seems to be doing pretty well. It's been a really mild winter. It hasn't been really cold, like super cold. So I think all this stuff will actually do pretty well into the spring, and especially since I didn't start until late spring of last year to start really growing plants. I think I've definitely got a head start this time around. So we'll see. We'll see what new plants I might think of or try to work out. Yeah, pretty cool.